that Diana, Princess of Wales, has in fact been killed in that car accident.
Interesting, sounds rather sort of bizarre, but I did go to Diana's coffin the day after I'd written it.
There are moments in royal life that no amount of planning, no official schedule, and no palace protocol can fully prepare for. They happen in an instant. A quiet word exchanged, a pair of eyes that fill with tears, a hand reaching out across the carefully maintained distance between royalty and the public. These are the moments that strip away the ceremony and reveal something far more powerful. Simple, unguarded human connection. And on the afternoon of April 21st, 2026, inside the magnificent marble hall of Buckingham Palace, Princess Catherine gave the world one of those moments. One that stopped everyone present in their tracks and moved millions of people who later watched it online. It was supposed to be a formal occasion. The royal family had gathered to mark what would have been Queen Elizabeth II's 100th birthday. More than 200 guests had been invited to the palace reception, representing charities and organizations that had been close to the late monarch's heart. Cancer Research UK, the British Red Cross, the Jockey Club, the Royal Kennel Club, and the Army Benevolent Fund, among others. Centenarians who shared the Queen's April 21st birthday were also in attendance, making the event both a tribute to a beloved sovereign and a celebration of lives long and well-lived. The King and Queen cut a large cake, bearing the number 100 in the palace kitchens, and the atmosphere was one of warmth and elegant remembrance. Catherine, Princess of Wales, was dressed in a soft lavender gown by Amelia Wickstead, a choice that itself carried meaning, a color long associated with mourning, remembrance, and quiet dignity. She wore jewelry drawn from the late Queen's personal collection, sentimental pieces that anchored her presence in the day's deeper purpose. As she moved through the crowd, greeting guests, listening intently, and offering the kind of engaged, unhurried attention that has become her hallmark as Princess of Wales, nobody could have anticipated what was about to happen. Then she reached an 88-year-old man named Tony Gledhill. What followed was captured on video by royal editor Rebecca English of the Daily Mail and shared on social media, where it spread rapidly. In the footage, Catherine is seen holding both of Gledhill's hands, leaning in close, the two of them locked in what appears to be an intensely private conversation in the middle of a crowded room. And then, without hesitation, the Princess of Wales stepped forward and wrapped the elderly man in a full, warm embrace. No formal handshake, no maintained distance, no carefully observed protocol, just one human being holding another in a moment of shared grief and quiet understanding. So who exactly is Tony Gledhill, and why did this moment move so many people so deeply? Anthony John Gledhill, known as Tony, is a retired Metropolitan Police officer who was awarded the George Cross, the United Kingdom's highest civilian award for gallantry, for the extraordinary act of bravery he displayed on August 25, 1966. He was 28 years old at the time, a young constable out on routine patrol in Deptford, South London, when a call came in about a car driving the wrong way down a one-way street. What began as a standard pursuit quickly became one of the most dangerous situations any police officer could face. The criminals shot at the unarmed officers 15 times with a sawn-off shotgun and revolvers during an 80 miles per hour chase before their car crashed into a lorry, causing them to flee. One of them tried to hijack the police car at gunpoint, ordering the officers to leave it. As the criminal tried to drive away, Gledhill grabbed the gun and was dragged along as the vehicle accelerated. The officers, both injured, managed to detain the criminal. His partner, Constable Terry McFall, received the George Medal for the same act of courage. But it was Gledhill's individual bravery in grabbing that weapon unarmed, injured, and facing a man who had already fired 15 rounds that earned him the George Cross. He was formally awarded the honor in May 1967. That single act of heroism defined much of Tony Gledhill's public identity for the decades that followed. He became a proud and active member of the Victoria Cross and George Cross Association, the organization that brings together Britain's most decorated heroes. He attended state occasions and royal events, carrying his medal with the quiet dignity of a man who never sought fame, but understood the weight of what he had done. He had met Queen Elizabeth II multiple times over the years, and by his own account, those meetings meant the world to him. He once described the Queen as being like a mother, recalling how warm she was and how she would smile at his wife and children during his original investiture ceremony. And there, at the heart of this story, is the detail that turned a pleasant royal engagement into something unforgettable. Tony Gledhill had recently lost his wife of 67 years. Before she passed away, she had urged him, made him promise, that he must attend the palace event celebrating the Queen's centenary, even on his own. Think about the weight of that for a moment. A man of 88, grieving the loss of the woman who had been by his side for nearly 7 decades, making his way alone to Buckingham Palace to fulfill a dying wish. He was not there despite his grief. He was there because of his love for his wife, love for the late Queen, and a deep sense of honor that had defined his entire life. When he found himself face to face with Princess Catherine and began to tell her this, something shifted in the room around them. During their conversation, he clutched the princess's arms as they spoke closely. In a moving moment, Kate leaned in to hug Tony, before gently holding both his hands as he appeared overwhelmed with gratitude. The video shows a princess who is not performing warmth, but genuinely feeling it. There is no choreography here, no carefully staged photo opportunity. This was Catherine responding to a human being in pain with the most natural gesture available to her, an embrace. The Princess of Wales bypassed the formal handshake expected of her station and instead reached out to wrap the widower in a close hug. In royal terms, this is notable. Physical contact between members of the royal family and members of the public is traditionally limited. It is not a rule written into any official document, but it is an understood expectation, a boundary maintained partly for security reasons and partly as a matter of long-established custom. Senior royals typically greet guests with a handshake, a nod, or at most a brief clasp of the hand. Full embraces are rare, but Catherine has never been a princess who treats protocol as more important than people. A friend of the princess had previously shared with People magazine that the princess is the type of person who will always opt for a hug when greeting someone, stating, "Kate's a big hugger. She is warm and friendly and greets everyone with a big hug and kiss. It comes naturally to her to be like that." This instinct, which has been part of who Catherine is since long before she joined the royal family, has only deepened in recent years. Her own experience with cancer, her diagnosis in 2024, her months of treatment, and the very public and deeply personal journey of recovery that followed, has given her a particular sensitivity to others who are suffering or grieving. After their exchange, Catherine asked Gledhill to keep in touch and to write to her if he wanted to. That detail, perhaps more than anything else, speaks volumes. This was not a fleeting moment of televised emotion that would be forgotten the next morning. The Princess of Wales extended a personal, ongoing invitation to a man she had just met, an 88-year-old widower who had come alone to honor a promise to his late wife. She wanted him to know that he was seen, that his grief mattered, and that the connection they had formed in that brief exchange was real. The moment was immediately compared to the most iconic expressions of Princess Diana's famous warmth and empathy. Diana, too, was known for breaking protocol to embrace people who were in pain, whether at AIDS wards, in landmine-affected regions of Angola, or simply among crowds of ordinary people who needed to feel that someone in the palace truly cared. The echoes are impossible to miss. and they are not accidental. Catherine has spoken openly about Diana's influence on how she approaches her role, particularly her belief that the royal family must remain connected to the human realities of the people it serves. This is not the first time that the princess has gone out of her way to comfort someone. Since her own cancer journey, Catherine has frequently connected with those in the cancer community, including a notable meeting with singer Jessie J, who faced her own breast cancer diagnosis. During the Royal Variety performance in November 2025, the two shared a warm hug, with the singer later noting that she saw the princess not just as a royal, but as a fellow mother and survivor. But what made the moment with Tony Gledhill particularly resonant was the combination of elements it contained. Here was a man who had risked his life for strangers 60 years ago, who had spent a lifetime in service, who had loved one woman for 67 years, and who had dragged himself to a palace reception alone because she asked him to. And here was a princess who, instead of offering a polite nod and moving on to the next guest, stopped, truly listened, and responded with her whole self. Gledhill and Catherine's interaction was a meeting of two different types of service. While the Princess of Wales represented the monarchy's trajectory into the future, the retired police officer was a powerful reminder of Britain's long history of heroism. Both had sacrificed, both had endured, both understood what it meant to show up, even when it is hard. The video went around the world within hours. Royal commentators described it as one of the most genuinely moving moments of Catherine's public life. Social media, filled with people who were reduced to tears by those few seconds of footage. And that reaction reveals something important. Not just about Catherine, but about what people are hungry for from their leaders and public figures. In an age of carefully managed images and strategic messaging, a spontaneous, unguarded act of human kindness carries extraordinary power. Tony Gledhill came to Buckingham Palace to fulfill a promise to a woman he loved. He came carrying grief that was still raw and recent, and he left having been held, truly held, by the Princess of Wales, who asked him to write to her. His wife asked him to go. Something tells you she would have been very pleased that he did. Some gestures need no commentary. Some moments explain themselves. On April 21st, 2026, inside Buckingham Palace's Marble Hall, with the memory of one great queen hanging in the air and the future of the monarchy standing in lavender, Princess Catherine broke protocol, and in doing so, reminded the world exactly what the monarchy is supposed to be for.